last nomads, the Raute.
Namaste.
These hunter-gatherers once lived deep in the forest. But today, there are less than 150 Raute people living as nomads, and the pressure for them to settle is mounting.
I just want all these people to go away and leave them alone.
As they're facing increasing threats from the outside world. For over 900 years, the dark, steeply wooded hills of central Nepal have been home to the famous
People who traditionally have lived very remotely from settled people in Nepal. These are people that really live life on the move.
But in recent years, they've been leaving the forest and settling within Nepali society, all except one small group.
Very little has been written about them. We don't think that anyone has ever filmed them for television before, and getting access to them has been a very long and careful negotiating process.
It's a 2-day journey into the heart of southwestern Nepal to a small district called Dilek, where I'm hoping to travel with the country's last nomadic group. The Raute move every few weeks around this, their traditional territory, which is roughly the size of Wales. "17 Raute communities once roamed northern India and Nepal, but today only one remains, a small group of around 140 people. I've been told that their current camp is somewhere down in this valley.
From what I can gather, they are quite private people. So I don't know really what sort of reception to expect.
The Raute live by 3 guiding principles: no settlement, no education, and no agriculture. I'm keen to know how they can hold on to these beliefs as they come into closer contact with more mainstream society.
Wow. So that's where they are, that little camp of cloth-covered shelters. And this is it. This is the entire Raute population of Nepal, right here. You can also see how close they are to the houses up on the side here. They're camped right on the edge of people's rice paddies. There's always suspicion between settled and non-settled people. I mean, you know, we only have to look at our own country and the way that people view travellers. Given that there are so few of them left, and that there seems to be this shift towards living much closer to settled people, does this spell the end of the last nomadic tribe of Nepal? Namaste. Namaste. This way? Thank you. Namaste. Can I have to shake your hand? No, okay.
We've pre-arranged our filming and we're compensating the Raute for their time. But there's an uneasiness in the camp and no one's very keen to engage with me.
Namaste. What do you want me to do with it? You want me to buy it? I want to know first, who taught you to carve?
The banana.
I don't want to buy it yet. Maybe another day. Ah, tobacco. It seems at the moment that I am being seen a little bit like a human ATM, and everything is about money. Everything, you know, that's a nice bowl, yes, you can buy it, you know, I'll be welcoming to you if you pay me, which is, I suppose, not that surprising, really, given that there's been so little contact with foreigners.
It's going to take time to win their trust. But, as is often the case, it's the children who seem the most intrigued.
Ready?
The Raute are moving away from the deep forest where they had no need for money. But now, as they enter the cash economy, they're some of the poorest people in one of the poorest nations on Earth. The crew and I are camping a short walk from the Raute settlement.
Today's been a really tough day. At one point, I tried to shake a woman's hand, and she absolutely wouldn't have anything to do with me. No eye contact. She physically turned away, and that's quite hard to deal with. But it would be lovely to feel at some point that there is a genuine connection and interaction that isn't just paid for.
Today, the Raute have decided to move.
Namaste. Do you want me to help?
It's not clear why they're moving, but with such simple dwellings and very few possessions, it's a quick process packing up camp. The Raute may not own much, but it often takes 2 days to carry their belongings to the new campsite.
You tell me what to do. Okay, so what would you like me to do? Excellent. It's all going very, very well.
It is so frustrating. I want to help and make friends, but to the Raute, I still represent only one thing.
I feel very guilty not carrying anything, particularly when you see these little kids walking up with their human loads. But at the moment, They still don't really know what to do with me, and I suppose I don't really know how to break the barriers down. Okay, you go ahead. She looks very, very pregnant, and although this pole weighs nothing, just feel... You want to take it? Sure? Okay.
And then a small breakthrough.
I thought that if I waited long enough at the side of the road looking empty-handed, someone would eventually give me something to carry. It feels like a tiny, tiny step to being allowed in.
These hills are at 1,700 metres above sea level, so walking with heavy loads in this heat and humidity is incredibly tough.
It's all going quite well. I've gained a pole and a goat. It's hard work. We're doing this in the hottest part of the day. I'm trying very hard not to show any sign of weakness whatsoever when you've got little things like this probably carrying more than their body weight.
While we rest, one of the most respected elders, Main Badu, tells me about their moves.
Rauteको बारेमा हामी चाहिँ सर्दै सर्दै किन नजाने धेरै जस्तो एकै ठाउँमा बस्न सक्दैन धेरै जस्तो महिना 4-5 महिनापछि त एकै ठाउँमा हामी बस्न सक्दैन कुई नयाँ ठाउँ त आयो यहाँबाट गाउँ भेट्न सकिन्न त यहाँबाट गाउँ टाढा भएको भनिसकेपछि त 2-4 दिन बस्छ फेरि अर्को नयाँ ठाउँमा गयो भने फेरि गाउँ नजिक आयो व्यापार गर्ने नजिक भएको.
The Raute used to hunt monkeys and forage for food in the forest. But over the past decade, with the cultivation of more and more land, they're becoming increasingly reliant on trade.
खाली गाउँ टाढा हुने वन मात्रै वनमा बसेर हुन्न खानु त चारो चाहियो हो त्यसकारणले हामी त्यही ठाउँमा बस्छौँ.
After 4 hours of trekking, we arrive at the new camp, which looks remarkably like someone's farm.
Let me just put that down.
There are 4 Raute chiefs, each elected by the community. One of them, Ain Badu, has asked me to go with him to collect wood. Each time they move, the Raute rebuild their simple shelters, taking what they need from the surrounding forest.
So this is what the villagers are afraid of. All the Raute now spreading out and cutting trees down. Now, you might think, why don't they bring everything with them? But given that they carry everything by hand, and having just carried a few poles myself, I can understand why they just think, well, you know, it'll all rot down, we'll just leave it there. But equally, you can see why the villagers must think, what a waste of wood. You need more? We're going this way. Here? This one?
It's illegal for Nepalis to fell trees. They're only allowed to take dead wood from the forest floor.
So it's going to fall this way? Okay. So we go that side.
But the government has granted the Raute special permission to take what they need. It's easy to see how that could lead to conflict.
So is this a good new site for everybody?
नयाँ ठाउँमा अब पानीको अभाव हुँदैन अब ठाउँ पनि घना राम्रो छ भनेर आएको
Do you know who owns this land?
यही घरको मान्छे जग्गाको नाम छ
And he doesn't mind that you come and set up your camp on his land?
पैसा
Do you pay him something to use the land?
नै पैसा दिँदैन पर्दैन दिनु पर्दैन बस भन्छ
Agriculture is vital to Nepal's struggling economy. But as more land is cultivated, the Raute increasingly encroach onto farmed land, provoking tension between two very different ways of living. Amnita Bamshi and her family have farmed this land for the past 10 years.
Did they ask your permission to stay on your land?
सोधेन नसोधेरै हामीले यहाँ बस्न नदिने भनेको थियौँ नानी अघि फोहोर मैला गर्ला त्यहाँ दोकानमा बस्न दिम्ला भन्ने हो त आफै मन परि आएर बस्थे अब उठो भन्दा पनि मानेनन् अब फेरि यो जातलाई उठो भनेर हुने रहेनछ त्यो उमा अब दोकानमा बाप बेन्चाहरू त सब हाँसे पनि कसले बिहोर्ने भोलि बिहान के गर्नु यो राउटेले मागेर पैसा दिँदैन यो जात त अगतिलो जात हुँदो रहेछ
I've been with the Raute for 3 days now. It's hard getting to know them, but I am starting to understand their sense of identity.
They are enormously proud of who they are, and there is something regal about them in their filthy clothing and their matted hair, and yet, you know, the women walk through that camp like princesses. They've got this incredible bearing about them. They look magnificent. And if anything is going to keep them as Raute, as these, you know, highly mobile, highly proud, obstreperous, difficult, impossible to understand people, it is going to be just the essence of them, of what it is that make them Raute.
The next day, the Raute are gathering yet more wood, but this time to make handicrafts. In the past, they bartered their boxes and bowls for food, but today they're mostly sold for cash. It's not enough to live on, so in 2009 the Nepali government began to give each Raute a monthly cash allowance of £6. The Raute are clearly becoming dependent on the cash economy. Birbadu, another chief, is one of the best carvers in the community.
Birbadu, can you tell me what you're making?
यो मुर्सु बनाउन लागि आछौँ त मुर्सु बक्स भन्नु पर्छ चाल्नु चाहियो भाराकुडी हाल्नु चाहियो रुखादेखि हामी यही बनाउँछौँ हामी 10 वर्ष 12 वर्षसम्म त्यहाँबाट सिक्दैन
Bir Badu has 6 children. His 2 eldest boys, Deepak and Kapil, are already becoming accomplished carvers.
Do you teach Kapil and Deepak how to carve?
बुवा कस्तो तास्छ कस्तो नै भन्दाखेरिमा बुवाले भनेपछि हेर्छ हामी यो नरिस बनाउन लाग्यो आफ्नो बेला खिच्यो सुन्न सक्छ र सकिन्न अब घरमा भनेपछि बस्यो घरको
In Raute culture, only the men carve, but everyone gets involved in trading, and they seem happy enough for me to help finish these bowls for market. We're taking the bowls to the local village of Godabas, where a trader is waiting to buy them.
Like that? Yeah. Good.
I head off with Bir Badu's sons. It's a 2-hour walk to the village, up yet more ridiculously steep hills.
भयो
This is quite a walk to the village shops. I thought I was reasonably fit and reasonably strong, and I couldn't beat a 5-year-old. It's funny, out of their camp, the atmosphere is very different. People seem to be a bit more open and friendly towards me, generally a bit more chatty, a bit more eye contact from the women, a bit of smiling. Maybe it's just the excitement of being near a shop with tobacco and fizzy drinks, though.
The trader waiting for the Raute is from another district, 200 kilometers away.
यो भाडा जान्छ इन्डिया जान्छ यो यसलाई फेरि परिवर्तन हुन्छ यो गएर फ्याक्ट्रीमा यो अर्कै किसिमको बन्छ फ्याक्ट्रीमा गएर
The bowls will be refined and decorated for the European market, where they'll sell for up to £40 each.
How much will you pay for the bowls?
अहिले हामीले चाहिँ 200 रुपैयाँ दिने गरे सरदर हिसाबले हामीले त्यो मिलाउँछौँ
Only 200 rupees? Not very much. Should you pay more?
हामी पनि अब गरिब हो अर्काबाट कर्ज निकालेर केही न केही गर्नु पर्यो भनेर अब एउटा पेशा नै गर्नुपर्छ भनेर
The cash from the sale of the bowls is used to buy rice, flour, vegetables and tobacco.
Did the sale go well today? Did you get some good money? Yeah? And what will you do with the money now? Kani, rice.
As the Raute move closer to the settled world, they become more exposed to all its trappings.
What do you think about things like mobile phones or televisions?
राम्रो लाग्यो हेर्नलाई मात्रै राम्रो लाग्छ अब किन्नले राम्रो मान्दै अरु किने त पनि नराख्ने
And the same for phones as well?
त्यहाँ पछाडि त पैसा पनि चिना छैन
Do you think your life would be better if you lived in a village like this one, settled?
मैले के आम्नासरी अब म पुर्खा जिन्नबाट मैले यो छे बानी परेर म 찌릿한 것만 줘.
This is so surprising to hear. Wherever I go, it's always the younger generation that wants new technology to modernise. But here it seems these Raute boys genuinely hold their traditions dear. Donald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a dog, E-I-E-I-O. And then you do the noise that the dog makes with a roof, roof. There and a roof, roof. Here. The mood in the camp has definitely become more relaxed. And if singing Old MacDonald helps, I'm not proud. On that farm he had a bucker, E-I-E-I-O, with a here and a there, here a there a everywhere a Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a, what's the word for cockerel? Brilliant! Helping with the move, selling bowls with the boys, and now singing Old MacDonald really seems to have broken the ice. Maybe a little too much. Quite sore. Tulsi is Deepak and Kapil's aunt. She's been asking me about whether I've got a baby or not. She's a widow. Her husband died a few years ago from what they think was malaria. How many children do you have? 3. And this is your youngest one? Youngest daughter. And then the other 2, you have sons or daughters? In Raute families, is it good to have daughter or son, or it doesn't matter? Hello. You're almost as pretty as your mum. When her husband died, Tulsi lost her main source of income, as only the men are allowed to carve bowls to sell. She does receive the monthly government allowance, but it's not enough to sustain her family. But the Raute are a close-knit community. Tulsi's brother-in-law, Birbadu, and his sons, Kapil and Deepak, help to support her. We snap off the fern's woody stem, leaving the softer shoot. The fern fronds are boiled in salted water with chilies and then left to go cold. Tulsi and her children will eat them with plain boiled rice this evening. This may look like a very simple scene, but the contrast between this and a few days ago is quite extraordinary. I can't believe that I've been allowed into a widow's tent just to help her cook. It doesn't look like much, but for me this feels like some sort of acceptance, and it's really special. Thank you. Thank you for today. It was a really special day. This morning, it's all change. The Raute have decided to move again. The decision to move is taken by the whole group, but the chiefs have the final say. An advance party has already scouted out a new campsite. Slowly, the whole community embarks on the 6-hour trek. I'm helping Tulsi. The Raute usually move when their camp becomes unclean, if the water supply isn't good enough, or after a death in the group. This time they want to move to a site with more space. In 5 days' time, it's the biggest festival of the Hindu calendar, Dasai. They want a campsite that will sustain them for the duration of the 15-day celebration.
I suspect I've been given the kids' load. I'm carrying firewood. Probably not that much, 15 kilos. But this hill is a killer. Even for the nimble-footed Raute. Oh, I tell you what, where's the removal van when you need it? The one thing that is coming through unequivocally during the time that I spend with these people is that their nomadism is right at their heart. This is their life. And it's hard, but it's what makes them tick. And I really get that.
After 3 hours, we arrive at the halfway mark. My small load's been hard enough, but Tulsi's is nearer 40 kilos, about the weight of a 10-year-old child.
Being with people like this makes me feel just so inadequate. They're so strong and resilient, and they kind of fit with this landscape. And they don't think that what they do is extraordinary. This is just their life. And if I or you got the impression at all that they don't want to go crops because it's all a bit of an effort and they like the sense of freedom, don't be fooled that they are in any way idle or lazy. What I've seen today can only be achieved by people who really, really know what hard work is.
The Raute's new camp on these man-made terraces is surrounded by a busy road. It feels a long way away from their traditional settlements deep in the forest.
Peel is making valiant attempts to build Tulsi's shelter, and I'm trying to help as much as I can. But Tulsi is clearly a hard taskmaster and is demanding perfection.
Over the last decade, as other Raute groups have settled, they've become subsumed into mainstream society. But these last nomads attract attention wherever they go.
मेरो मिस जीवन गएको छ क्या यहाँ अरू कोडा मान्छेले बोल्ने काम छैन 4 र 5 को कुरो मात्रै जेल पेसामा ढुवाल भनिन्न यार हामी समितिसम्म समग्र हामी ठुला रुख दिन्छौँ क्या सानो बुढा किन काट्ने किन नबोल्ने हामीले आफूले बजाए जङ्गल हो क्या 1 नम्बर 3 नम्बर अरू नम्बरका जस्तो जङ्गल होइन 5 नम्बर जङ्गल हामीले व्यक्तिगत आगो लगाएर आगोको प्राणी भएर बजाए जङ्गल
Villager Jit Bahadurmana is employed by the district to take care of this small communal plot of land.
चाहिने सबैको लागि हो भनेर मैले सोचेर चाहिँ काम गरिरहेको छु समितिले मलाई चाहेर चाहिँ 8औं वर्ष चाहिँ मलाई अनि घरलाई आफ्नो परिवारलाई आफ्नो छोराछोरीले चासो नदिएर त्यस्तो चासो दिए जस्तो मन सोचेर मैले वन जङ्गललाई ठुलो आस्थामान गरेर बसेको हुँ केना बुटा काटेपछि बच्चा काटे जस्तो भनेर यिनलाई भन्न खोजे त्यही नि हो
किन बस्के भने हामीको लागि यो हामी यो पाल्ता तागुने यो सासो बुटा नदाल्छु के भने ठुला बुटा हामी के गर्ने यो ठुलो घर बन के हो बनिसके भने हामी यो जिमी जग्गा लगाए पनि एउटै हुने त्यही कारणले सानो बुटा ढाल्दिने दाइरेक्ट घर बनाउने पछाडि बेटा यो गाउँ विकास समितिको अध्यक्ष म
There have been a lot of people coming to the camp. What do you think of that?
राम्रो लाग्छ कुनै मान्छे राम्रो कुरा गर्न ठेल्छ
And do you ever get scared?
त किन लाग्छ नि यो यत्रा यो दलित मान्छे सबै उच्चिक्यो भने यत्रा टोकेर चाहिँ काप्दै बाट्ने हो कि होइन त्यसको डर किन लाग्छ
राम्रो लाग्यो अगाडि मलाई कुन ठाउँमा जग्गा रोज्छौ र त्यो सरकारले आरक्षभित्र रोजे पनि हामी म लड्छु उनी आएर बाँच्ने बुझ्छ चाख्नु बुझ्नु छैन कुका रेललाई बनाएका छन् भइहाल्ने अब यहाँ बिमार निकालेका छन् आएर हामीले राउट्याउँ मात्रै भनेका छन् त्यो छैन
Kapil and Deepak's father, Birbadu, is embroiled in an argument with another local man.
पूर्व मेचीदेखि हामी राउट्या मात्रै हो र राउट्याउँ र ल्याऊ छैन भनेपछि बाँडिनु भइदिन अहिलेको 21औं शताब्दीमा आएर त्यो गर्न मिल्दैन नि हेर राति कति आउँछ नि यो कम्पिटिसन गर्ने होइन तर हामीसँग त्यो कल्पना होइन यो चाहिँ राउट्या बढी आयो भनेपछि 5 जना कसैले बुझाउँछ केही बनाउँछ छैन यसै भित्र बुझाउँछ तिम्रो बनाउँछ हास्दै बनाउँछ यो चुप लाग फेरि अहिले पाउला फेरि मेरो हातबाट सबै जोडी मात्रै होला मसँग ठिक गरेर बस नलागु जो भन्ने सबै भन्ने यति कुरा नगर
Birbadu, come, let's go.
तपाईले नेपालबाट जङ्गल विभाग नागरिक हो
Birbadu.
राउटेकी शब्द जाने हो
Mama, let's go.
यो रुपी यो अब यो जङ्गलको क्षतिपूर्ति तेरा बालेको मा छैन मैले 5 जना पनि नदिने मलाई राउटले बनाउँछु 5 नदिने बोले बाँच्न खान नदिने समाजले साथ दिन्छ कसिएर म बनेको हो भनेर मिल्दैन यो राउटे भाउ भने आज सबै ठिकठाक गरिदिने
Go see your wife and I'll take you. You should listen to your wife maybe and perhaps you should just get off this hill and go somewhere else where everyone else can just get some peace.
I
do that?
am certainly.
That's okay. It's been a very tense afternoon. I can't say I'm surprised really. This site that they've moved to is so public and there are a lot of people who are threatening them in one way or another. There was one man in particular who works in the forestry around here, is incredibly upset that they've cut down the trees, and I have to say I can totally see his point. But I am really torn. So I feel incredibly protective. It's really odd, but I just think, I just want all these people to go away and leave them alone.
So, it's really silly, but I was looking at Kapil's face when his father Birbadu and this other man were just yelling at each other. And he just looked. He looked distraught, really distraught. And as much as the Raute say that they will always live this life and they're proud of who they are, you wonder whether eventually they'll either be forced somehow to conform or they'll be forced back into the forest and away from villages again. When people come and they shout at you and they want you to go away, does that happen a lot?
धेरै त भयो छैन अलिअलि चाहिँ भएको होला त्यो पनि मिलाउनै पर्यो नमिलाएर हुँदैन त भन्छ अब भनेपछि धेरै झगडा क्या को नाम छ धेरै चपाक भात मिठो हुँदैन धेरै कुरा गरेको कुरा निको हुँदैन त भन्छ कुरा त्यस्तो हो त अब यो झगडा गर्दै गर्दै गर्दैमा भनेपछि मलाई क्या को नाम छ फेरि पनि जिउ बाट्नु चाहियो त सम्म त बाचाको नाम रहन्छ त सेउठाइले केटाहरू हाम्रो केटाहरू त सबै डराइदियो त भान्जीले पनि आइसकेर त त्यही भनेपछि रुन आँटियो त मेरो लागि बुझ्यो त्यस्तो प्यारो लाग्छ भनेपछि भान्जाले पनि हामीले झन् प्यारो लाग्यो त के दिएन त आत्मी यो भान्जाले पनि अब कसरी हेला गर्ने त
Today's the start of the Hindu festival, Desai. The Raute's own belief system is a mixture of Hinduism and animism, the ancient belief that all things in nature, animals, plants and the elements, possess a spiritual essence. To help them celebrate Desai, the Nepalese government gives every Raute family a special payment of £65, with which they buy a goat for slaughter and enough food for the 15 days of celebration. The chief district officer, Sagamani Parajuli, has arrived to make the payment.
अनि तपाईको छोराछोरी कति छन्?
4 छोरा छ दुईटा छोरी दुईटा छोरा
Would the government like, in the long term, to see the Raute become a settled people?
Yes, we have to convince them to be settled. Their life will be more easier, comfortable, and forest will be preserved.
Do you think they would be willing to settle?
Generally, they are not willing. We have to convince them. In future, I hope they will come to the mainstream social life. It will be better. And gradually, they will not remain barefooted all the time. I hope within 2-3 decades, their life will be drastically changed and towards better life.
I think it would be a shame.
It's pretty clear that by handing out this cash, the Nepalese government is trying to entice these last nomadic Raute into becoming settled.
I think it would be enormously sad if the Raute were just to be absorbed into conformist Nepali society. The world has become so homogenized, and when you meet and spend time with people like this, you realize that there is a great deal of value in diversity.
But my worry is that with such a small group of them, just 143, still living like nomads, what chance do they really have?
It may, in the end, be a combination of all those social and political pressures, and that they become used to having a bit of cash in their pockets that may undermine this extraordinary way of life. But the identity of being a Raute is extraordinarily strong. There is a real pride in their heritage, and I don't think they're going to let that go lightly.
As dusk descends, the tension of yesterday is forgotten, and the Raute begin their Desai celebrations.
I am cursing these people. For the last 2 weeks, they've had me singing Old MacDonald till I'm blue in the face. And I have tried so hard to get them to sing or dance for me, and they're like, no, we don't do it, we don't do it. And there is just something wonderful about this atmosphere with the light failing and this wonderful smell of very fragrant smoke in the air. It just has this very simple joy about it, and I think that is very much a facet of Raute life. They have their challenges and put up with a lot of prejudice and negativity. Hey, I'm Badu. How are you?
Okay.
It's great.
Yes,
They just have this fantastic generosity of spirit, particularly when they've had a bit of chan, which I think might be flowing quite hard tonight. This is my last night with the Raute, and tomorrow I'm going to be heading back to Kathmandu and then home. And for some reason that I can't really explain, they don't seem to be the sort of people that you say goodbye to. So I'm just going to leave them to it, to celebrate Desai, and then to pack up their things and move on.